And welcome to Straight Facts Podcast, Halloween 2021. We got a special little video I'm doing because this is just random and I want to get this out because I have these pages up on my computer. I was documenting it and I'm like, I should just cover this real quick. So that's what I'm going to end up doing because a lot of people forget how this started, this whole quote unquote pandemic started, and um, where we are right now with all the data came from 2020 and up to 2021 now. So we have to understand what years and what data we actually have. Which, what I'm getting at is in 2020, everybody was unvaccinated. Everybody was unvaccinated. Okay? Everybody was unvaccinated. And what what was the data? The data ended up being 99.7% survival rate for the coronavirus. That's what the data showed. In 2020, from unvaccinated people, 99.7% survival rate. Now that we know this, let's go back and look at what they showed us. Let's look at the fear campaign that they put on us. Okay? Because January 22nd, 2020, China halts travel from Wuhan amid outbreak of deadly coronavirus. Now, for one thing also, which is interesting, it's China, which, I never had anything against China because I didn't know history. So learning about communism in China and then the Chinese Communist Party, and then it's interesting how this started because I don't know what I believe, but when I look at the science, I know what I believe. So, and I'm talking about the start of this pandemic and where it actually came from. I don't even know. In my opinion, this is a huge psychological campaign, but that's not what this video is about. What this video is about is the progression of Wuhan and how this started and the idea that they implemented into the world's mind of the only way to come out of this. All right. So China halts travel from Wuhan amid outbreak of deadly coronavirus. Okay? January 22nd. So they locked down, right? Quote unquote. They locked down. Okay. Virus City hits temporarily shuts down local transportation. This is the 23rd, the next day, January. Boom. Straight out of China. Okay. Local government, the center of the coronavirus, announced that all public transportation in the city, local buses, long distance buses, subway, and ferry will be temporarily closed starting at 10 a.m. So they started locking down. Okay. Chinese market at the center of the coronavirus amid outbreak sold wolves, rats to eat. And when you look in they don't even mention bats. It's pretty interesting. Um, Sold live animals, including wolf pups, foxes, rats, and peacocks to eat. Nothing about bats. I mean, obviously we know they had bats, but listen, I'm not even there. Oh wait, other wildlife markets include crocodiles, salamanders, snakes, porcupines, and camel meat. Still don't mention bats. How interesting. Okay, so that's the 23rd. All right, and that's New York Post. So that's us. Here we go. Coronavirus in China. Officials rush to build hospital in 6 days. 6 days. Want to build a hospital in 6 days? And not for nothing. I mean, they got it going. I mean, they were really on their grind. If this doesn't play, I don't know. I got another one. Anyway, China is rushing to build 1,000-bed hospital in just 6 days, and they really went at it. I got to give them credit. And this is the 24th now, so look at that. Boom, boom, boom. China's getting to it. Building the hospital. Well, lockdown. Building the hospital. Right? Okay. Now this is the important part right here because this is very interesting. This video is what we really need to pay attention to. Because this video is where a lot of the fear mongering came. propaganda came from. Right. Yes. We wish to proceed. And this is January 25th now, okay? January 25th. China, people drop dead. Wuhan coronavirus. Okay? January 25th. Yes, we understand. So, coronavirus doesn't do that to people. Listen, they showed us this stuff all over our news, all over the internet. Come on. That's not even happening now. It's literally worldwide, and that's not even happening now. We need to think. With this quote unquote pandemic being worldwide, this type of activity isn't even taking place right now. It's not even taking place right now. So we need to look at this with a new set of eyes and be like, this is bullshit. Call it what it is. Okay? And I mean, there's literally tons of this. Tons of this. Look at a patient in Wuhan psychologically melting down, laying desperately on the floor with a lot of money scattered around. What's that even mean? I don't even know. Let's continue. So, by February 3rd,
they have a 1,000-bed hospital built in just over a week.
Just like that.
They said they would do it, and so they have a 1,000-bed hospital built in just over a week, perhaps only in China, but still, it's a feat.
How much money?
This is Wuhan in Hubei province, the center of the novel coronavirus outbreak. These pictures are from the China
Let's think about how much money.
The hospital fully equipped and furnished. But there have been many reports, though hard to verify,
orange.
Of other medical facilities in China
33. That's
equipment.
orange.
There are no signs the outbreak has peaked. At Wuhan No. 5 hospital, the staff talk about being overwhelmed by the sheer number of patients.
I've never seen so many patients since I started working 20 years ago.
I didn't know when or where it would end. The people just kept coming. We didn't know the numbers until very late. Our doctors sat there all the time checking patients. They didn't even have time to look up.
February.
Indeed, the trajectory of this virus is astonishing. When the World Health Organization first started monitoring the crisis, it reported 282 cases, almost all in China, with 6 deaths. A week later, more than 4,500 cases had been declared and just over 100 were dead. Today, it's more than 17,000 patients worldwide, though mainly in China.
We got to talk about PCR tests one day. But
and 362 people have died so far. Wuhan remains empty, in lockdown, and as the outbreak continues, China's economy is under pressure. The stock market plunged on the first day of trading after the Lunar New Year. Businesses are closed, tourists are staying away.
After the Lunar New Year, which means that they did it in a ritual, as a ritual.
Even the locals won't go out. The race is on to find a vaccine.
Fear propaganda.
Though it could take at least a year, although drug company GSK announced today that it would provide to any of its competitors a booster or an adjuvant for any vaccine discovered to make it more potent.
We see a huge outbreak in China right now. If we can contain it in the Western world, Europe and in the US, then it...
I mean, I want to bring up something right now, which this isn't the video to talk about this, but we have to understand. They claim this came from Wuhan, right? Okay, so came from Wuhan. They really claim that this went into every single county within, like, what, a month, 2 months, into every single county all over the world. like, I looked at the Connecticut numbers in like February, probably February, maybe March. And it's like, you're telling me that people got the coronavirus like in some random town? I'm like, it's so hard to believe. It's so hard to believe that one little wet market could spread all over the world. And I think the only thing that spread all over the world was the information, because our daily lives and our real lives did not match what we were being told. And I don't care what anyone says. I know that you know that now, because reality was not matching, like I just pointed out with Wuhan, China to begin with. So this video is 8 minutes long.
It might down over the summer, so we create a window of opportunity to give companies who are working on vaccines
February
more time to come
3rd.
with a solution.
February
There is a degree
3rd.
of desperation. Nobody believes the official figures represent the
Let's remember, they wanted a vaccine, right? And they're like, oh, no vaccine will be here. No vaccine will be, no vaccine, right? Listen.
true scale of the outbreak. And there is growing concern that no cases have yet been reported from Africa, where there are weaker public health systems.
The only way we will defeat this outbreak is for all countries to work together in a spirit of solidarity and cooperation. We're all in this together, and we can only stop it together. So the rule of the game is solidarity, solidarity, solidarity. But we see this missing in many corners, and that has to be addressed.
Okay. They've said what they wanted to do to begin with. They showed you the deserted Wuhan streets, right? Absolutely nobody. So everybody was locked down, okay? So that was the solution. We got to go back to the timeline. That's the solution, right? When's this? February 5th, okay? February 5th, the whole place is locked down. That was their solution. Everybody, total control. So what they did here when they locked everything down is this is where they ended up taking total control, regulating everything, meaning your movements. They were like, we actually did it. They listened. I haven't even watched this one yet. This is from February 5th. Latest news from China. People collapsing on the street from corona. Okay? Let's go. Many people infected with the virus die at home. The dead were carried without even numbers. Seriously? Real medical struggle to Orange. The Masonic ritual. Is basically a pandemic now, should be treated as such. You know, people trust China. They believe China. That's one thing, you know. Listen, and the PCR tests, Koch's postulate, using their data. See, the problem is the lies. You need to keep lying in order to keep covering your lies, and those lies cross paths eventually. And those that are usually lying aren't paying attention to their lies, which I'll show you physically with so much information in the coming future. So let me recap. Wuhan, outbreak, people dying in the streets, huge pandemic, February, right? Huge pandemic. They're talking about February. Pandemic status, people dying in the streets, hospitals packed, right? The huge hospital they built, how much money that was. Boom. And then packed. It's a lot of money they made. People were dying. Not one vaccine, right? Anywhere. The flu disappeared. Yeah, let's remember that. The flu disappeared. The flu disappeared in 2020. The flu disappeared. People believe that. It didn't disappear. That's the point. It didn't disappear. They just started using PCR tests telling you had COVID-19. That's a different video. So, Wuhan, China, coronavirus breaks out. They lock down. Allegedly, it spreads to the entire world. And then February, March, April, May, June, July, August, 6 months later, without a vaccine, thousands attend Wuhan pool party, and this is mainstream news. A pool party at that. A pool party where water can transmit respiratory, like a pool party. They literally had a pool party. Six months later. Partying, 1,000 people. At nighttime, so there's no heat. There's no sun. Because they claim that the sun's safe and it's safe to be outside. Chinese city of Wuhan, where the coronavirus was first discovered, hosted a massive pool party that was attended by thousands. Revelers had to buy their tickets in advance and provide a health code upon entry. And provide a health code upon entry. I mean, we got Bill Gates from a while ago, and I'm not talking about him on stage. I'm talking about something I posted last year where they edited his TED Talk, and on the TED Talk he said that we're going to end up needing some sort of digital immunization proof. And here you go, right? August 18th, like they did exactly what Bill Gates said. Last year, if you said that a passport for COVID-19, that they were going to force you to prove that we're called a conspiracy theorist. And here we are. So, people need to realize that the tactic they use is call you conspiracy theorists, call you the so-called name they came up with, which would be 9/11, or there'd be JFK, conspiracy theorist, 9/11, truther, Sandy Hook, hoaxer, and right now, with COVID-19, is anti-vaxxer. If people aren't paying attention to the patterns and the way they use the same tactics throughout history, then you're going to not see it when they do it on you. So that's thousands attend Wuhan. I just wanted to show again, this is Fox. The Chinese city of Wuhan appeared to have moved on from the virus, as thousands of revelers gathered in an open air water park for an electronic music festival. Open air, but that's at nighttime. So there's no heat, there's no sun. And I'm using their science. I'm using their story. Like, I'm just open air water park at night doesn't do anything. Without any masks or social distancing measures in sight. So, you know what I find interesting here is Fox tells you that they did this without any masks or social distancing measures in sight, which clearly that's what they did. And NBC tells you revelers had to buy their tickets in advance and provide a health code upon entry. They don't even tell you what the health code is. Whatever. Wuhan pool party. Now, this is straight out of China. Okay. Wuhan pool party shows China's strategic victory over COVID-19. Can we get a Beijing says. Now, this is August 20th, 2020. 2 days later, they're putting it out there as their victory. Okay? Yeah, see? Oh, no, I thought I said. Okay. And it's the same thing. The COVID-19 first emerged. So, an alleged deadly virus that allegedly killed people, all of a sudden now, you're going to do this.
其实看到这个新闻，我其实还是挺开心的，因为经过这么长时间的努力，中国说明中国的疫情防控已经做的
Prevention and control measures have been very
那
effective.
现在在几个月之前，
Just a few months ago, this pool party would have been unthinkable.
现在呢，大家
But now people are willing to relax,
去进行一些
to organize and take part in different events, I think is a very good thing. So, key part there's taking the measures. This shows that China's prevention and control measures have been very effective. So that's the blueprint for the rest of the world. Okay? COVID-19 Wuhan residents celebrate. Here we go. September 18th, a month later. This is straight out of China. 30 million people around the world have been infected with COVID-19. While the fight against the virus is still going strong in many places, residents of Wuhan are celebrating, quote unquote, a new normal. And the title of this on September 18th, 2020, from China is COVID-19. Wuhan residents celebrate, quote unquote, new normal after fighting virus outbreak. So,
30 million people around the world have been infected with COVID-19. While the fight against the virus is still going strong in many places, residents of Wuhan are celebrating a new normal. Lynette Lim was in the city where COVID-19 first erupted late last year, and she spoke to people to find out how the pandemic has changed their lives.
Wu Hui still recalls the fear and confusion in Wuhan between
Black and
late
yellow.
January and early February. That's when the city was thrust into the unwelcome glare of the global spotlight after China officially confirmed human-to-human transmission of COVID-19 on January 20th. A harsh lockdown was swiftly imposed on the city just 3 days later.
城市恢复或者经济的恢复其实都很容易，也很简单，但是心理上的创伤恢复其实很难。
the recovery of the city's economy
Wuhan
is simple.
accounted for 80% of China's 80%
Wait.
of China's coronavirus deaths, leading to widespread fear and panic. But it has reported no new infections since May.
80%. So 6 months after it's worldwide, 80 Wuhan made up for 80% of the worldwide deaths. And then they claimed that it echoed throughout up to now. September 18th. Let's think about this. 99.7%. 99.7% survival rate. And 6 months later, Wuhan held all the deaths. Well, the highest amount of deaths from COVID. I mean, mathematically, just it's coming up short.
CNA was invited to visit Wuhan earlier this month as part of a government-organized tour. Over 3 days, officials took pains to show us Wuhan's recovery. From an elite school to a vibrant park and a modernized wet market. All carefully selected scenes of vitality and a new normalcy.
The streets are bustling and life is pretty much back to normal in Wuhan. We've been here for about a week filming and interviewing, and our work has been going on smoothly and unhindered for the most part, except in a couple of places.
But at the now boarded up Huanan Seafood Market, where China's first coronavirus cases were believed to have come from, one is reminded that some aspects of the Wuhan outbreak remain out of bounds. Residents that we met told us that while there were shortcomings with the initial response, the government was able to react and quickly contain the situation.
包括采取封城也好，包括这种所有的这些各种的决策政策也好，当然一些想。
From locking down the city to taking various steps and measures, there were definitely flaws, but the authorities were able to immediately.
瑕疵是有的，但是它能够立马去纠正这些错误，然后立马就是找到正确的方向去。我觉得
rectify and go in the right direction. I feel the strategic leadership was what allowed Wuhan to quickly go from being spot of this.
武汉能够 快速的，就是从这个疫情大面积的爆发
massive outbreak of what it is today. See, listen, this is propaganda. This is propaganda. This is what I see. This is propaganda. I see a one-eyed monster in the background. Yeah, this is propaganda. It's all the same. It's all the same entity. It's Jesuit order, man. It's the Jesuit order. What it comes down to. They control China.
到决策吧。
But even as Wuhan celebrates a hard-earned return to normality, there remain unanswered questions over how well can China, or even the world, weather another public health crisis.
Now, I need you to flash back now and think. Before vaccines, what were we doing? Which it still is, 14 days quarantine. So, look, since February, right? Since February 2020, CDC shortens recommended time from 14 days to, I think it says like 7 to 10. We're going to see it in a minute. The logic behind a 14-day quarantine after travel. So there's January 4th, 2020. So we were quarantining 14 days right from the beginning. Board of Health keeps 14-day quarantine recommendation 8 hours ago. DOH, Department of Health, reminds asymptomatic COVID-19 patients to complete a 14-day. Now that's June 27th, 2020. And let's remember that, asymptomatic, because they were calling the unvaccinated asymptomatic. And now everybody's quote-unquote asymptomatic because everybody's spreading it to everybody, which in my opinion is just normal respiratory illness things that we all have natural immunity for. Except those that took the vaccine and now they're destroying their natural immunity. Mm-hmm. It's sad, but that's what I see going on. And they said, 14 days. When to start? Boom, boom. 14 days. This is government. This is Wyoming. City says 14 days quarantine, best way to reduce COVID risk, but 10 to 7 day periods work in some cases. This is December 2nd, 2020. Okay. This is Iowa government Quarantine for 14 days. It says why? Because you were exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID-19. This is why they wanted to do the contact tracing, because they were ready to track everybody. Quarantine and isolation, October 19th, 2021. So this is recently. Well, this is updated, what I'm saying. Quarantine for isolation. You quarantine when you might have been exposed to someone. When you might have been exposed to the virus. Might. Quarantine when you might have. You isolate when you have been infected. We got to talk about when you're infected, because when you're infected, what is it? What do you get? When you're infected, you use a PCR test. The PCR test what tells you you're positive. A PCR test is literally like it tells you this if you have symptoms of something. It amplifies something, and they've been testing for symptoms the whole time because they can't test for COVID-19. That's a whole different video, but listen. Everything's changing. And soon they're going to be changing their definition of being fully vaccinated. And soon you're going to be taking boosters every year. All those people that got vaccinated, you have to take boosters every year now. Because they know they messed up. They know that. But I don't even think they messed up. I think they planned this. Because I have Klaus Schwab. Saying it.
Being quite involved in those discussions.
This is from I think so. This is from this one. So this is from this one, which is from July 14th. Okay, ready? Before there was even a vaccine. Usually you can't even make a vaccine for 8 to 10 years, right? So the mRNA vaccine comes in, which is not even a vaccine. It's mRNA technology administered through a vaccine. Which is why they're changing the definition of vaccine to being a nasal thing, because soon I guess they're going to be putting shit up your nose. Listen, so July 14th, okay? July 14th. We need to put this into perspective. July 14th. Klaus Schwab is at the World Economic Forum saying this.
It's even aggravated by the question about the vaccine itself. We don't know yet, for example, is one dose sufficient? Do you need 2 doses? In what interval? Do you have even to be vaccinated every year? Because the antibodies may not sustain for a long time. So it's a big unknown. And I just can assure you, we will try. I mean, that's our role. To look at the solutions in the best global interest. And I think the best global interest is not to increase the divide between the haves and the haves not, between those countries which are industrialized and those which are lagging behind. But let me make one remark here. I think if we look at the location of the production facilities for vaccines, they are very much not in the industrialized countries. They are in, if I'm not mistaken, they are in your country, in Malaysia, they are in India particularly, and so on. So this is really a test case were for the capability of global cooperation. And I would say, being quite involved in those capability of global cooperation, capability of global cooperation, capability of global cooperation.
Okay. So they want a global corporation that produces.
Sure, we will try. I mean, that's be vaccinated every year. In what interval do you have even to be vaccinated every year?
July 14th, 2020. July 14th, 2020. July 14th, 2020.
Do you need 2 doses? In what interval do you have even to be vaccinated every year?
So he's acting like it's a good thing what they're going to do. We need to do this. We don't know. But what he does know is
for the capability of global cooperation.
Okay. Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. The solution is a global corporation, which I said last year, by the way. I said what they wanted because when you watch the what is it called? The drill they had with the coronavirus. Might as well just do it. See, that's cool. I don't use the internet when I do things usually. Bitly. What is it? I have so many links in my head, it's hard to remember them. So what they wanted is a central international entity. So Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, October 18th, 2019.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anita Cicero.
This is right before the coronavirus came in. They illustrated the pandemic preparedness efforts needed to diminish the large-scale economic and societal consequences of a severe pandemic. Event 201 identifies important policy issues and preparedness challenges that could be solved with sufficient political will and attention. So they ran this back in October 18th, 2019. They uploaded it November 4th, 2019, and this has been on the internet since before the coronavirus came about, and this is about coronaviruses. So Event 201 is about coronaviruses. What they end up talking about is basically what they want is a central international entity. I'll show you 1 second. This guy right here
is manufactured in 5 countries, including the United States and China. Approximately 1 million people take Extranavir every day for HIV. If all of those HIV patients could be switched to other antiretroviral drugs, we could potentially free up enough Extranavir to treat 26 million CAPS patients. Assuming further that we could double production over the course of a year by bringing additional manufacturing online, we could eventually have 52 million treatment courses per year, but it will take many months to get there. And there is not likely ever to be enough to keep up with the need as long as the disease continues to spread.
I pointed this out last year. This was their
Experts
goal.
agree that while many lives will be saved by this antiviral, it is not going to slow the pandemic in the same way a vaccine could if we had one available.
Wow.
However,
now we do.
We do have the potential capacity to save many people. Now the question is, how do we distribute the supplies we have? Existing global supply chains and logistics networks for Extranavir run efficiently under normal conditions.
This is it.
But the pandemic is likely to be very different. We are hearing that one country where Extranavir is produced is planning to block some or all of the export of this medicine to
CDC
hold on to
General.
it for their own people. Tensions are rising between governments and pharmaceutical and medical supply companies about how supplies should be allocated and who gets to make those decisions.
Which will be the
International
papacy eventually.
humanitarian organizations are raising serious concerns about access to antivirals for people in low and middle income countries.
See?
In addition to antivirals, other medical supplies are not reaching those who need them in many parts of the world.
See?
This is especially pronounced in low and middle income countries, which are reporting the highest rates of disease transmission and mortality. In part, this is due to last-minute stockpiling and hoarding by customers, and in
Like
part,
things
it is due
Skid
to
Row
cost and logistics issues.
Is suffering, which they're flourishing. They're just
Personal
fine.
protective equipment, such as N95 respirators, are in critically short supply in some areas.
Respirators.
N95 respirators are manufactured by many companies around the
They
world.
were killing people.
But there
with
are
it.
no reliable estimates of how
Getting
many,
30K for
how
them.
many are produced or what global production surge capacity is. All we can say is that production capacity covers normal demand, and it is not uncommon to have temporary shortages during severe flu seasons.
See? Shortages.
In a severe pandemic, we can expect the need to increase by a factor of at least 2 to 3.
See?
Given these supply issues, there are a number of potential proposals being floated aimed at coordinating and facilitating medical countermeasure allocation and delivery around the world.
Allocation is the key words here.
Politicians, business leaders, scientists, and policymakers are weighing in. Some are suggesting that suppliers and buyers continue to work independently to decide where to send antivirals and medical supplies. Others are suggesting that countries where these products are made should be able to decide where those drugs and supplies go.
Coming.
Still others are recommending that suppliers, buyers, and countries entrust a central international entity or organization with the job of allocation and distribution decisions for at least a portion of antivirals and other medical supplies.
And he walks off the stage because that's the punchline. Just like with Klaus Schwab, that was the punchline. His punchline is
capability of global cooperation. And I would say being of global cooperation.
That was his punchline. The global corporation, right here.
Aimed at coordinating and facilitating medical countermeasure allocation and delivery around the world. Politicians, business leaders, scientists, and policymakers are weighing in. Some are suggesting that suppliers and buyers continue to work independently to decide where to send antivirals and medical supplies. Others are suggesting that countries where these products are made should be able to decide where those drugs and supplies go. Still others are recommending that suppliers, buyers, and countries entrust a central international entity or organization with the job of allocation and distribution decisions for at least a portion of antivirals and other medical supplies.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Okay.
So the policy crisis
where those drugs and supplies go. Still others are recommending that suppliers, buyers, and countries entrust a central international entity or organization with the job of allocation and distribution decisions for at least a portion of antivirals and other medical supplies.
Central international entity.
Capability of global cooperation.
They're telling you everything they're doing. Either you're paying attention or you're not. I can't even talk about this right now. Combining vaccines with nutrition. You're going to talk about nutrition. You're going to talk about nutrition? You're going to talk about nutrition. We'll get into that next time. Make sure I'm about to go on a campaign spree, by the way, okay? I'm about to go on a campaign spree where I'm dropping so much music. So much music. I'm dropping my whole career. I made a few albums, mixtapes, and one album, and I'm dropping it all. And then I have new music to drop along with so much information. So much information. I have so much information you don't even know. Okay? I have a lot to say about COVID, but we're going to do the COVID. We're putting COVID on my website and on like Rumble and other places because on YouTube it's going to get banned. And I don't want to get banned on YouTube, so I'm going to utilize YouTube for different purposes. But I'm going to direct people every time I make COVID video on YouTube to go to where said video is. So make sure to follow me on all my social media. Able1212 on Instagram. I mean, Able1212 Music on Instagram because they banned me. So at Able1212 Music on Instagram, Twitter, Able1212. You can find me on Facebook. I don't really use it. YouTube, Able1212, Scratching the Surface is actually the real one where I put my information at. Make sure you go to able1212.com, sign up to the email list because I'm going to be delivering lots of information like this through the email to you. Like everybody that follows me on my Instagram, on my email list is about to get this video right now. So make sure you get it because you'll get these videos first. And I'm going to be delivering a lot of information like this, way shorter than this. This was going to be a 10-minute video. It didn't turn out to be that way. But that's okay. A lot of information in here, and I hope you appreciate it. If you do, you can donate. Even $1 always helps. Cash App, Able1212, Able1212 on Venmo, Able1212 on PayPal. And make sure to follow on all social media. We'll catch you soon. Peace.